Hello and welcome to the EOTI Podcast. My name is Mary Ann Obiefuna and I'll be your host today. On today's episode of the EOTI Podcast, I have the Deputy Director of Communications at EOTI, Tamara Priye. Hi Tamara, welcome to the EOTI Podcast. We're happy to have you here.
Hi Marianne, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, so can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. My name is Tamara Priye Michael. I am a Tech 7 legal professional. I am a recent graduate of the Nigerian Law School and I have a growing passion for tax. I am currently serving as the Deputy Director of Communications at the Emmanuel Onyebo Tax Initiative, EOTI. I also work in the project management and tech education. I work as a project manager. I work as a software developer. I work as a software development tutor. So I do a couple of things outside of law, outside of tax, and I love exploring the intersection of law, technology, taxation, and the impacts that, exploring that intersection can bring to this world. So that's a little about myself.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. So how did you become interested in tax?
So initially, my first meeting point with tax was in school, right? During my undergraduate days, I chose taxation as an elective course in my 400 level, and I took it for both semesters. I did not like it at first because I thought it was a bit technical, but I got to be more comfortable with it. And when the opportunity for joining the EOTI came up, I jumped at it because that was an opportunity to learn more and be mentored in the area of taxation.
Yeah, that's rather interesting. So what part of studying or working in tax excites you the most right now?
So currently I am being mentored in tax technology. That's one of the areas of taxation that I'm being mentored in. I'm also being mentored in tax deal advisory, general corporate tax, transfer pricing. But tax technology is what excites me the most because I love exploring digital tools. I am a student of tech tools. I sit down to discover what these existing tools can do and how it can make life easier, whether it's at work, with family, at home. And I believe that, the tax administration is transforming how digital tools are being used and how they are also complying with, legal regulations that we have, coming up also with legal frameworks for the regulation of these digital tools. So I'm really excited about tax technology and the future of taxes. It's not limited to just innovation. I really find it thrilling that young professionals like me can contribute to reshaping the system, starting from mentorship and obviously growing in our careers. We can have a seat at the table where we actually get to make decisions that contribute directly to, tax administration with regards to digital tools.
Okay, that's very interesting to know. So with regards to your interest in pursuing a career in tax, do you mind telling us how and what steps you've taken so far in your career? And then along the line, you can tell us any memorable learning moment or experience in your journey.
So I just started pursuing a career in tax. This mentorship is my first step in pursuing a career in tax, and I may not have a lot to say concerning that yet. I am constantly studying and learning about the taxation systems that we have currently in Nigeria and internationally, and I believe that I would grow from here. So I don't really have much interesting stories to share yet, but I'm excited for what could come next.
Oh, that's cool. I'm also excited to see the many wonders you do with regards to tax technology, as that's what you've said you are interested in. So what attracted you to join EOTI as an executive or to sign up to its mentorship program?
I got to know about EOTI from a friend, Stanley. He posted on his status that he was currently looking for creatives that could volunteer their skills. He was looking for graphics designers, web developers, and I did not know what I was going to be volunteering for, but I knew that Stanley was very much into tax law. So I messaged him and I offered to volunteer my web development skills. That was when I got to know about EOTI. He shared with me a bit about what EOTI was about. That was before the launch of EOTI. Then he connected me with Mr. Emmanuel Onyabo, who also shared the vision and the mission behind EOTI. I loved what I heard. I loved the idea of coming up with an initiative to help growing professionals, young professionals like myself in the taxation industry. And it was a huge opportunity for me to be able to do law and to do tech at the same time, to build the website whilst learning more about tax law and policy. So I got on it from I thought about the idea of being able to do both things that I like so much at the same time, and that was what really got me into the organization.
That is very beautiful to know. So what have you learned about yourself or the profession through mentorship and service as an executive at EOTI?
Wow, I have learned so much. I remember talking to Mr. Emmanuel Onyabo about this opportunity to come on the podcast and be interviewed as an executive. I asked him, because he's my mentor, I do not just see him as my tax mentor, I also consider him my life mentor. I asked him if he thought I was ready, if he thought I had enough experience or I had enough to say generally in the tax industry on a podcast. And he then sat me down and began to list out the various things that I have done, the various ways I have contributed to the organization, what I brought to the table, the value that I offered and I still offer, and I was wowed. I asked him if I was ready to speak on a podcast, to be interviewed on a podcast about taxation and being an executive at EOTI, when I do not necessarily have so much experience in tax. I'm a mentee and I am learning, right? I'm just learning. I have not done as much, but he directed my mind to how much I have done, even outside of taxation for EOTI as an organization. As the Deputy Director of Communications, I sit down and I study tech tools. I study what they can do, how they can help me, how they can help wherever I'm working. And I brought that to the table. Figured out how we could have meetings at no cost for a very long period of time and be comfortable in those meetings, those virtual meetings. I helped with tools that our graphics designers use in when they design our flyers, our posts and the likes. So I have helped in so many ways. I've helped EOTI. I have brought my understanding of technology into the organization, and that has, been able to help EOTI do what EOTI is meant to do. This mentorship that I'm currently ongoing, again, is more than just, tax mentorship. It's also life mentorship. I've learned how to deal with colleagues from different backgrounds. I've learned how to deal with colleagues from different levels of experience, of different ages, some younger than me, many of them older than me. I've learned again how to work properly in that type of environment. I've also learned how to deal with access to very important people, how to not abuse the privilege of access. It's so much. What I've learned is a lot, and it's not necessarily something that I think you would find in just any organization. We are very privileged, especially those that are working closely with Mr. Emmanuel as our founding mentor. That's the members of the executive council. We get advice that, like, every other person in the organization may not be privileged to get. We also get opportunities that they also are not privileged to get. So it's been a very educative one for me.
It's actually a good aspect of reflection, or a good moment of reflection, when you think about the privilege that you have, to tap from Emmanuel's wealth of experience and knowledge. As I fondly tell people, do not abuse privilege, do not abuse access, because over time I've noted that people do not actually know how to handle access to important people or privilege being to them. But it's good to know that you're learning that at EOTI. And I also think that people that have access or the privilege to work directly with Emmanuel are able to gain knowledgeable insights, not just as regards tax, but as regards, career, profession, any other aspect of life. I also remember a time when I had a session with my mentees, and then we had finished discussing what we had planned for that day. And I decided that I needed to take them through something that did not have to do with audits, because I have a career in audits. I wanted to discuss something that affected them as career people, as professionals. So it's very good and very beautiful what EOTI is doing to both the mentors, the executives, and the mentees as well. So let's, while we're still on the topic of discussing mentorship and growth through EOTI, what do you think makes mentorship so valuable for early stage tax professionals?
All right, thank you for that question. So I believe for early stage tax professionals, for students, recent graduates, people that do not necessarily have experience in taxation, mentorship gives them the opportunity to be able to learn from someone that has gone ahead, that has made mistakes, from somebody that has generally done the dirty work, right? So you are coming in to learn from somebody, learn their mistakes, learn what they got right, so that you do not have to repeat their mistakes. You kind of have it easier compared to the person you're learning from, who probably did not have a mentor guiding them the way you were guided. So for us early stage tax professionals, we get to learn from people that have gone ahead. We get to learn from people that have a wealth of experience and can tell us what not to do and what to do. Of course, we are going to make our own mistakes along the line, and we are going to learn from them. But it's so much more important for us to be able to not make the same mistakes that they have made, save a lot of time and energy being mentored in that particular career path.
Yeah, that is actually very good to know. I also align with your views on mentorship, because you're able to learn from people's experience, and then these conversations you have with your mentors, they are not things that you can find in textbooks. They are mixing and combining real life experiences and scenarios and telling you, this is what is said theoretically, but in practice, this is what happens. And it's not something that you would find in textbooks. I mean, if there is any of such textbook, I'm sure many of us are willing to get such textbooks. What I think about your experience, because in fact, you're both an executive and a tax mentee at EOTI. That's some double portion of blessings, and I am actually jealous because people are just tax mentees, but you have this double privilege. Let me ask you, how are you using the EOTI platform to develop yourself professionally?
Okay, so in just a couple of months since EOTI launched, I ran to update my CV. I added that I was a tax mentee on my CV.
You didn't even waste time.
I didn't waste time. I didn't waste time at all. So I updated my CV. I added I was a tax mentee. When I became an executive, I also added that I am serving as the Deputy Director of Communications at EOTI. I already updated it on my LinkedIn, and it has given me so much visibility currently in my career. I went for a physical interview yesterday, and during the interview, I brought up EOTI and what I do at EOTI, the mentorship that I'm currently ongoing at EOTI. And one of the lawyers interviewing me is a member of the CIT, and he was very excited when he heard about the tax mentorship. He already could resonate with me. I could see that I had gotten favor in his eyes already because I mentioned that I was being mentored in tax. So he's already looking forward to me joining the team and working with me, and that has opened a beautiful door for me. So EOTI has helped me to get into a place that I might not have gotten into if I did not have that extra on my CV, if I didn't have that extra experience that I could bring to the interview.
Yes. I do not want to digress, but I think that what you have said is very important. And as you were talking about, updating your LinkedIn and all those other things, talked about visibility. What I was just screaming in my head was, easy, if you easy, run out. And while people on LinkedIn, people that you have become visible to, see, for lack of better words, the glory. Right? Oh, you're an executive, you're a director or something. They do not see the hours of hard work you have to put into making sure that you deliver your assigned tasks through your service as an executive in EOTI. And I also align with the fact that bringing up this kind of things in your interviews, it would, bring more mutual conversations if you happen to find people that you have aligned interests with. And it's very interesting to know, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So while we're looking ahead, it's nice that you had even brought up this interview comment, and I'm about to move to the portion or to the segment where I say, let's discuss looking ahead, your aspirations in tax. So what kind of tax professional or leader do you aspire to be?
All right. So I want to be a leader that, leads with integrity. One of the biggest things for me is to be sincere wherever I am. And I don't just want to lead because I'm in that position. I also want to make an impact on people. So I want to ensure that if there are any ways that I can make life easier, make life easier for the people I'm working with, my colleagues at EOTI, fellow members of the Executive Council, our founding mentor, our mentors, our mentees, our interns. If there's any way that I can make things easier while they communicate with their tax mentors, while they communicate with their tax mentees, their supervisors, I want to offer that to them. I want to give that to them to the best of my ability. So that's the type of leader that I aspire to be in EOTI.
And I'm going to ask another question because we know that the world is evolving rapidly. And you just have to get in tune. It's either you get in tune with the evolution we're experiencing globally, or you find yourself being redundant. So how are you preparing yourself to stand out in a fast evolving global tax landscape?
One of the ways that I prepare myself to stand out in a fast evolving tax space is by learning from global best practices. I am a tax mentee in international tax law and policy. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. And what my tax mentor ensures that he lets us know beyond the theory that we have in textbooks, like you mentioned earlier. He helps us understand what obtains in practice, what's going on currently in the world, how the political landscape is, in tax beyond what the laws say things should be like. So I plan to, continue learning from global best practices. I plan to build a good tech-savvy foundation because the world is advancing rapidly in tech. People are scared that AI is going to take over all their jobs, but there are some people that are, using AI to better what they do at their jobs to be able to perform more at their jobs. I'm that type of person that wants to exploit the tool and use it to my advantage, and I always want to connect with what I learn about international tax best practices. I always want to be able to find a way to not just learn but think of how I can also contribute my own quota. So that's how I prepare to stand out.
It's good. It's very nice to know that you are preparing yourself to stand out in this world, because I think it's very important that you're able to differentiate yourself. What makes you different? What makes you better than the rest? So it's very nice to know that you're working towards surviving or standing out in this fast evolving global tax landscape. So what's one insight or mindset shift you've had during your journey so far, especially since you joined EOTI as an executive?
So one of the mindset shifts that I've had, I mentioned earlier, is coming to understand my value without necessarily feeling like I'm proud or arrogant for reiterating or iterating sometimes what I can do and what I bring to the table. This has really helped me in self-evaluating, in my own perception of myself, and an opportunity that I've recently come to benefit from is your podcast, Marianne. If I was not given the opportunity to interview with you, I most likely would not have gotten to know about your podcast. And when I got to know about the podcast, I checked it up immediately. I listened to a few episodes and I could resonate with many of the things that I heard you talk about, your guests talk about. I started with the most recent one I saw. That's the one about progress over perfection, and that was so me, because for the longest time I did not do anything on LinkedIn. I didn't post anything on LinkedIn because I wanted to perfectly think about how to put myself out there. What am I putting myself out there as? And I overthought it until I stumbled on that podcast, and my friend told me that, things have been happening with people that graduated with law school from a first class. Why haven't you posted? And I sat myself down to think about it. Wait, why haven't I posted? Bet many people are posting. Almost everybody is posting on their status their results. I had a first class. I was sitting on it. I was thinking about not just having the generic, I graduated with a first class. I was thinking about how to tie it in with all the many different things that I do, and that hesitation, waiting to perfect it in my mind, was just stopping me from progressing. So I decided to just put it out there, put my thoughts together, write a draft, edit it, and post. And it has helped me. I've decided to, be more consistent with what I want to put out there, be more consistent with actually writing something out and executing it, not just planning in my head and hoping that one day I'll perfect the plan and not execute it. So I've learned a lot from the podcast. I've listened to other episodes of the podcast. The fear of being perceived, that also resonates so much with me. Those series of episodes helped me to understand that I need to deal with where that fear is coming from, and I need to understand that it's not that deep. So that's a mindset shift that I've had, and I would not have been connected to the podcast if I wasn't an executive of EOTI. So it directly helped me personally, helped my mindset, helped my perception of myself, and how I interact with people. Aside from that, I've also learned that leadership is not really about who is making the most noise or who is the loudest. It's really about the dedication, what you are doing behind the scenes. If you're being sincere to yourself, what you are doing as a leader is about consistency, is about showing up all the time, showing up to the best of your abilities rather. And EOTI has really helped me to be able to lean into that. So that's another mindset shift that I've had.
Lovely. So I'm going to make a confession. I heard you talk about podcasts, and I said yes because I remember discussing the opportunity to anchor this podcast session with you, with Emmanuel, and I was really grateful for that opportunity. And then when you were done talking about the EOTI podcast, I heard you mention another podcast, and I was just speechless. I'm going to first of all say thank you to Emmanuel, because I am sure that he was the one who would have told you about my podcast. So thank you, Emmanuel. And thank you to EOTI Podcast, because if I was not given the opportunity to anchor this podcast, you wouldn't have known that I had a podcast, and I wouldn't have known that I've been able to help you in my own little way. And then I also want to reference the comment you've made about, holding on, withdrawing or not feeling that you're ready enough. I think that for humans, even the Bible says, I know this is not a spiritual discourse per se or a religious discourse, but even the Bible says no one lights a candle, and puts it under the bed or covers it with something. So it's very necessary, it's very important that you let your light shine. You need to be vocal about what you do, because we would not know that you were the one that invented a particular software if you don't talk about it, if you don't share that brilliant idea. I mean, if Emmanuel Onyabo did not decide to start this Emmanuel Onyabo tax initiative, some of us mentors would not know that we had it in us to be able to share our experiences with the world. You as well, as an executive, would not know that you had it in you to be able to volunteer and also do the things you do through your service at EOTI. So please, as much as possible, you have to stick to that. You have to, the insights, whatever skills, whatever lessons you've learned at EOTI, it's very important that you apply it in your daily lives. Because what we do at EOTI goes beyond just tax. It helps your overall being. So I think it's okay that I add that part. Then, finally, are there any thoughts or messages you would like to share with EOTI on how it can achieve its vision and maximize its reach?
Thank you for that. Thank you for your comments to my last answer to the question. So what are the thoughts I have on how EOTI can maximize its reach? I think EOTI should, keep telling our stories on LinkedIn, on our social media. Every time we post, the profile flyers of our tax mentors, our tax volunteers, our tax mentees, tax interns, and executives, we usually talk about how we are on another series of, letting the world know about the extraordinary people that are working at EOTI. And that storytelling is helping people understand that there are people of value in this organization. In this organization, there are tax mentors that have so much to give. There are volunteers that are volunteering their skills and are helping the organization grow. There are tax mentees that are learning so much. We even have tax mentees with over 20 years of experience in EOTI coming to learn about tax areas that they are not very experienced in. And that says a lot about how much we can help, how much we have to offer as an organization. So I believe EOTI should continue telling our stories, keep empowering us with opportunities. We had a webinar not so long ago where some of our tax mentors were on the webinar and they shared insights on how to properly pursue higher education outside of Nigeria, in the US and Canada. They talked about immigration. They talked about, they helped us with understanding how to properly apply for those graduates, apply for postgraduate studies outside of the country. And many of the tips that they shared with us are not things that you get to see outside for free, right? And this webinar was open to the public. It wasn't just restricted for the members of the organization. It was for everybody to benefit from. So EOTI is doing a lot for the society at large, and I believe EOTI should keep empowering us with these opportunities, telling our stories and creating, more doors for professionals to access what we have in store. We are expanding rapidly. So excited about what is going on in EOTI, and I know that EOTI is already maximizing its reach, and we can do so much more by being consistent with what we're already doing, because I believe we're on the right track.
We are definitely on the right track, and I hope you pay it forward. What EOTI is doing for you, in you, through you, with you, to you, I hope you remember to pay it forward, because our world needs more of value-adding individuals who make lasting positive impact in our society.
Yes.
So I dare say that I have had a very interesting conversation with you, and I must say thank you for agreeing to come on the EOTI podcast to talk about your experience, both as an executive and as a tax mentee at EOTI. I can also boldly say that EOTI is proud to have you in its network, and we are wishing you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Marianne. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I have learned so much. This has been a growing opportunity for me, an opportunity to grow, to get better in so many different ways that I do not even have the capacity to be able to communicate right now, because I'm still comprehending. So I'm so grateful. Thank you so much, Marianne.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And you too.
Yes, and with that, we've come to the end of this episode of the EOTI podcast. I hope you learned a thing or two from my beautiful conversation with the delectable Tamara Priye, the Deputy Director of Communications at EOTI. Thank you so much, dear listeners, for tuning into this episode of the EOTI podcast. It's been a pleasure leading this conversation with Tamara Priye. Until next time, stay tuned for more interesting episodes on the EOTI podcast.